Hey, what's up, guys? Just going over some more of the famous monsters from the best era, the era of the arts. And I like how it's just famous monsters, right? And look at this cool ass cover, man. Look at that, El Santo, right? Santo's putting a smackdown on a Wolfman, but the vampire Mujeres looking on. Right? What a cool figure. This would have been an awesome shirt, right? Once again, like the last issue, which literally came just before that, it's a good overview of these uh, these different you say obscure genres, but we sort of all knew about them growing up. Just seeing them was kind of difficult, you know. You need to get like bootleg back in the day. Now these are widely available online. Now, this issue, I'm gonna. There's other cool things here. The Invisible Man, one of the best Universal films. That's kind of underrated in my opinion. But I'm just gonna kind of get the focus on the wrestling stuff here. All at the end, I have to go over some Romero stuff here. CM Punk, real quick. I remember when he was the villain. I remember the ROH show in Elizabeth, E Town, where he was the bad guy. He was bullying Raven. You know, oh, you're a drug addict. I'm straight edge. I'm better than you. Which was kind of funny that he was a real straight edge dude, but willing to do that, you know, kind of hardline persona to be the heel. And it ended. It was great. Tommy Dreamer came out and helped his old enemy beat this dude, handcuff him to the rope, and then pour beer down his throat, and then knock him out with a chair shot. It was great, man. I remember that show. Man, it was crazy. But in terms of CM Punk himself, I don't. By the time he started getting into WWE, is when I started to lose interest in professional wrestling, pretty much for a number of reasons. Figured out, oh, this guy would be cool, man. He's like, you know, he's like me, right? In certain ways, like, you know, likes punk, metal, tattooed, you know, I guess you'd say outspoken, but not, you know, at least amongst people I know, or he liked horror movies. A good interview, stuff about like he definitely is a horror fan and a comic fan. But never the one thing that really I would say was like helped me go like, this guy, I don't like this dude. He was the guy. Apparently, a lot of wrestling fans seem to be very left of center now. Now you could say that's not true. I don't know. I'm not in the scene. I don't know anything about. I wouldn't know who the hell is the champ. I wouldn't know any of the wrestlers other than like I see Brock Lesnar, and that punk ass John Cena, who when he came, really John Cena I hate more because when he showed up is when kind of like things started going downhill. It's my opinion, but he was one of the first guys in wrestling I heard started bringing up white man, white man. I remember him saying shit like that. Obviously, very left of center guy himself. Anyway, that's all I think. You know, obviously he had a very disastrous debut in MMA. But yeah, he started kind of late. You know, you can't do that stuff that late. So anyway, that's enough of CM Punk. Let's go to the real deal dudes. The Lucha. Okay, now luchadors, of course, are all Mexican wrestlers, right? The enmascarados, of course, are the masked ones, and you remember them. WCW and eventually WWE or WWF when Vince bought WCW. I think maybe my wrestling history is wrong, but of course, none of these guys really. Vince really didn't like these dudes, and I think he made them all have to unmask at some point, and I think some left because of that, like Ultimo Dragon, you know, very disrespectful, very Vince McMahon. I don't know what to say, but we're here to talk about this idea, the idea of a masked wrestler in Mexican wrestling, and that you never have bigger wrestling fans than the Mexicans. You never have bigger boxing fans than the Mexicans. If you watch a boxing match anywhere at this point, you're gonna have like Mexican, like the Caddy being advertised because they're the ones watching boxing now. It's dying in the West. It's like a freak show of the West, in my opinion. And it just gives an overview of these, the masked wrestlers. I forgot what was the name of the place in Mexico City. They used to mention it. The Spanish announcing table used to mention the what was called in Mexico City, their version of Madison Square Garden. But of course, the whole thing with the masked wrestler films is that the most famous films and the ones that are really fun to watch are these guys like Santo, right? Fighting monsters. Okay, the mummy, right? The Aztec mummy, the Mayan mummy, El Stranglador, right? Vampiros, right? Zombies, creatures. Some of the greatest films they made that were fun were these dudes fighting monsters. Um, the only other movie I think where you have this much slam bam action was Paul Naschy films, where he was the werewolf fighting literally every kind of monster you could think of. Um, yeah, these are a lot of fun. These are, of course, oh, they're campy. Oh, they're stupid. Oh, they used to make a fun of these kind of films, right? Watching them now, not only are you seeing a cultural snapshot, which I keep saying, in both in time and culture, historicism. You're seeing a really fun movies, okay? Where the guys are, you're a man, you're gonna fight, you know. I mean, you could say, I always say the Japanese probably make better superhero movies and shows and comics than Americans. Well, so did the Mexicans. So they mentioned in here too, more of the stuff, the evolution of the films. Obviously, it made sense. The wrestler as a star, the master wrestler, had a huge following. So it would go hand in hand that you would have these people with a built-in audience to make movies. Right? And here you go, right? There were dub prints. Remember, he was called Santo. Was called Samson, right? In the English versions, famous, of course, Samson versus the Vampire Women, which is the movie you should check out, or El Santo versus the Vampire Women in Spanish. Remember this dude? Remember Johnny Legend? Who's old enough to remember Johnny Legend? He was one of those dudes like in the '80s, like the Phantom of the movie writer. He was like one of those dudes that was like, yeah, these cool movies and old music and stuff like that. And he brought that to attention. Brought attention to that. And yeah, just it. You have all kinds of lucha. This guy, Dr. Karate, I guess he was a karate dude, but here you go. Lucha Hero Cinema is an available time capsule of vintage Mexican wrestling. And because the guy makes a good point in the story, in the article, excuse me, where in the films, interspersed between fighting Dracula and beating up mummies and stuff, mad scientists, these dudes are always fighting, and they got jobs, they gotta fight in the ring. So there's always about 3 or 4 matches being showed interspersed between, like the Blue Demon and Santo beating up Frankenstein. Yo, what's up? Yo, with my money. Okay. Of course, Santo is the most famous. Not the first though. They wanted him to start movies earlier, but I guess he was probably busy. So they had the first. This guy apparently was the first master wrestler hero. He wasn't just made up, right? But eventually they got Santo in, right? So Santo's the most famous, right? And when he died in '81, he was buried with his mask on, just like Lugosi was buried with his cape. It was like doing like an abdominal stretch. Right? But this movie, man, Santo vs. Los Mojeros Vampiros, this is a good movie. When I keep saying Mexican horror films, you think they're cheesy, whatever. They're not. Even when they're fun, slam, bam, action movies, there's a lot of atmosphere. There's a lot of craftsmanship in them. Don't overlook them, okay? Because they're Mexican. That's his name, Rodolfo Guzman Huerta, right? Of course, when you think of the other guy, you think of Blue Demon, right? El Demonio Azul, right? Blue Demon. I never saw this. This is like a friggin' that they team up to fight all these monsters. Look at that. La Momia, right? La Mujer Vampiro. Frankenstein with a Q, right? El Hombre Lobo, well, you know him, right? El Cyclope, look at that. So Blue Demon, obviously, a little younger, and of course Mil Mascaras, right? Mil Mascaras, a little more flamboyant, right? Means 1,000 masks in Espanol, right? The perfect luchador for the age of Bowie. That was interesting. But you had other ones. You had the Las Luchadores. I remember I seen one of these. The most famous ones, they fight the Aztec mummy. Okay. Once again, just like the Japanese, just like the Chinese, okay, just like the Italians. I keep bringing up these countries. Right. You have fighting kick-ass women in these films. Yes, empowered women. Oh, they're kick-ass women who beat up and fight. Right. Monsters and gangsters and hoods. Right. Lackeys, but in the film they're very charming women. They like men. They don't undermine their societies. They like to have a joke, and sometimes they need help from the men that they're helping, like the policemen and whatnot. So lots of fun. You know, famous of course. A lot of these apes. Rennie Cardona made the very gory film Night of the Bloody Apes later, which was technically a luchador movie. Yeah. And this guy, never heard of this dude, but anyway, going through, right, Aztec mummy, or was it the Mayan mummy? And there's an Aztec mummy. And just, if anything, it's just for the cool pictures, right? And yeah, man, fight, yeah, realistic. Like the old wrestling's cool too. These guys, you know, when you look at these dudes, the choreography, when you look at them fighting, it's slam bam, you know, smash mouth action. But also a lot of the old moves are in it. Okay, it wasn't just a bunch of wrestlers doing karate chops on their necks and, like, you know, doing a little fake ass leg drop. These dudes had grappling skills. These dudes were doing key locks. These guys were doing, you know, hip scissors. They were doing head scissors. They were doing combo locks. They were doing a lot of acrobatic moves as well in conjunction with los mujeres panteras, right? The female, the women panther, or the panther women. More wrestling women, right? I guess those are the two luchadoras. And this Batwoman, very funny movie, man. Color, this really cool creatures. This crazy Batwoman, wrestling woman fights this. Literally, she's a rich woman, wealthy woman fighting crime in a bat bikini, fighting these creatures. Bro, come on, man. You want to see fun? You want to see campiness? You want to see hot women? You want to see dudes fighting? You want to see crazy creatures? You gotta see these movies. Segueing to what I'm saying, to the wrestling, obviously, right? Japanese henshin is a whole other crazy thing with superheroes. But you actually had, of course, look at you have here. You had pro wrestling star as Azuta Kaiza, right? Dynamic Productions, Go Nagai, Kenny Shikawa. In terms of crossover to manga, these two guys made so many crazy. Go Nagai is a whole thing. I went over him, right? But they made they did a show here, an anime of a, right, with Surabaya Productions. You know, remember Born Free Dinosaur Catchers? I showed you some of that, right? And so it's like the villains are all these hood heels, right? These wrestlers, these crazy dudes, these crazy creatures. It's just fun looking at that. And some here in Ultimo Dragon, of course, the famous Ultimo Dragon, okay? Right, the Japanese real style, strong style wrestling, right? The New Japan stuff, they became a star in Mexico. So talk about cross-cultural appreciation. And then Tiger Mask, an example of it, an August Rangone, remember that dude? Tiger Mask was a manga created by the guy who wrote, like, Tomorrow Joe, which is an awesome boxing manga and series. Had one of the best endings in any comic series ever. But he created this fictional character, Tiger Mask. And then eventually in New Japan, I think it's New Japan Pro Wrestling, you know. I know it's not the only thing they had. Eventually they made a real Tiger Mask based off this character. Look at this, man. Crazy. Look at all his enemies, you know. You always had the evil blonde American wrestler. Yeah, so a lot of cool stuff here. A lot of the crossover. Okay, when you think about, just like I said, with crazy genre movies or wrestling or boxing, you have a lot more respect for these things in these other countries than you have in America. Yeah, that's right. You got, of course, all the toys. Right? Oh, look at this Chupacabra. Yo, Chupacabra was real, son. There we go. All the crazy Japanese toys. You know, it was really cool, man. Just rounding it out here, Mexican artist. Look at this cool guy's art, man. Yeah, what's up? Oh, save her, bro. He's gonna run. He's a pig. But look at that. Yeah, you know he's gonna win, right? You know, and Santo and El Hombre Lobo, right? You know, look at that. This chick looks like Deja Torres, right? But look at that. That's cool, bro. This guy, this is the one I'm not familiar with. Tinny Blast, right? But look at that. That's a cool. It's almost like Frazetta. It's almost like a death metal album cover. You know, Blue Demon, right? So this was cool seeing this. Running out of time. I'm gonna do another vid, real short. I have to do it because you know me, man. Romero is one of my favorites. So, all right.